The new cookie legislation that's just come in effectively requires us to notify the customer and obtain approval from the customer for all of the cookies that are non-essential to the operation of the website. What that really means is if a customer comes onto the website, they should be told what cookies are actually in operation, and then they should simply tick and say, I now understand what information you're collecting about me, and then they can go on and use the website. How it's likely to affect us, I think it's a bit of disruption to the customer experience, because if you're going to follow the law to the letter, then I think it kind of does break into what is quite a strong connection for us. Is once that customer actually comes on and starts to look at fashion, they become quite intensely involved with it. To suddenly break that sort of connection, I think will damage conversion ultimately. But equally, we understand, it's important that customers in this day where information is proliferating at a rate of knots, that they understand what information we're actually collecting about them and how that information is ultimately going to be used.
It's a huge challenge actually, and it's a piece of legislation that many retailers aren't really fully aware of the implications and what it means, but it has far-reaching effects. And we also know that it's a piece of legislation which isn't necessarily well thought through, but it has to be implemented. So we're working closely with the body who do that to inform and help retailers make sense of how they comply with the least impact for the customer.
I think there are some extreme responses which are going to scare customers, and therefore we're very nervous of that, because whilst we fully understand the implications of what the directive is saying, customers don't, and it's not front of mind. So as soon as you start flashing up big warnings to customers that we're following the law, I know from previous experience that actually that can make people very insecure. So I think it's about making sure the appropriate experience is delivered for customers.
I think there's an argument amongst retailers in general, certainly pure play retailers, that we're disadvantaged over the US, for example, that doesn't have such punitive legislation. But equally, we're not so strong on accessibility in the UK, so we're not required by law to provide accessibility in the same way as they are in US sites. So I think swings and roundabouts really.
I think what we'll find is that lots of retailers take a very sensitive approach in the beginning, but I think it's one of those things we need some kind of cases to go through to understand where the tolerances are within the regulations.